I'm Brittany. Just minutes before I was supposed to walk down the aisle, my mother cornered me in the bridal hallway. With venom in her voice, she hissed, "You don't deserve to wear white. A girl like you will only bring shame to this family. Take that dress off. You sicken me." There were 50 guests already seated in the chapel. My sister, my maid of honor, stood silently behind her. I clutched my bouquet so tightly that the stems dug into my skin. I refused to cry, refused to speak. And then, at that very moment, my 73-year-old grandmother, pushing her walker with both hands, slowly passed my mother. She stared my mother down and kept walking straight towards the microphone. What she did next not only saved my wedding but also shattered my mother's world. To understand how my mother could say such things to me in front of 50 guests, we need to go back to 2009. My grandfather, Henry Thompson, was a hard-working factory worker in a small town. He married my grandmother, Mildred, in 1978. They had a simple but loving life together. My grandfather was the kindest man I ever knew. He taught me the value of patience. Every summer, he would drive his old blue Chevrolet from our hometown to wherever we were living. He'd pick me up before dawn, and we'd go fishing by the lake. One summer when I was 8, as we sat by the lake, he said, "Brittany, the key to a good catch is patience. Slow and steady wins the race." At that time, I didn't realize he was also teaching me how to deal with my mother. 3 days before he passed away from heart disease in the local hospital in 2009, he signed a trust document. The Henry Thompson Trust was set up with $200,000, which he had saved over his lifetime. The terms were simple: the money was for me. It would be managed by a trustee and would be fully mine on my 30th birthday or the day I got married, whichever came first. The named trustee was my mother, Linda Thompson. The first successor trustee was my grandfather's brother, Arthur, who lived in another city and ran a small grocery store. The second successor was my father, David. My grandfather trusted my mother, and that was his only real misjudgment. When I was 16, my mother showed me a statement from the trust company. The balance was $230,000. She said, "Your grandfather left this for your college, sweetie. Don't worry about it. I'll handle everything." Little did I know, that was the last real-looking number I'd ever see from that account. My parents divorced in 2012 when I was 11. My mother told me that my father didn't want to see me anymore. I believed her because she was the only parent I had close contact with. The truth was that the divorce settlement was structured in a way that made it easy for my mother to keep my father away. He was only allowed supervised visits, which my mother always canceled. He was supposed to have holiday phone calls, but she intercepted them. One Christmas, when I was 13, my father sent me a wrapped gift. My mother put it in the garage without opening it. I found it 3 years later, the wrapping paper faded. I never told her I'd seen it. In the divorce settlement, my father signed away his rights as a co-trustee of the trust. He later told me that the lawyer said it was just paperwork and he could get his rights back if something seemed wrong. He was only 25 when I was born and 36 when the divorce was finalized. He was young, tired, and too willing to sign whatever was put in front of him. My mother remarried Tom in 2014. By then, I had stopped asking about my father, which was exactly what my mother wanted. My sister, Emily, is 5 years older than me. She was the star of the family, a straight A student, and got into a top-tier medical school. When I got accepted into law school, my mother was unimpressed. She said, "Emily is going to be a great doctor. You can do whatever you want." Emily's first-year tuition at medical school was $50,000. My mother told everyone she paid it from her real estate commissions. I later found out she paid it from my trust money. The same month, she told my law school that she couldn't co-sign a federal loan for me. I worked summers at a local diner, making minimum wage plus tips, and paid for law school myself. I met my fiancé, Ryan, in 2026 at a community environmental meeting. I was an intern at a local environmental organization, and he was an environmental scientist. He was 28, with sandy brown hair and hazel eyes. He was soft-spoken but very intelligent. He supported me through all the difficulties with my family. After Ryan proposed in 2027, my mother invited us to an engagement dinner. It was more like an interrogation. She asked Ryan about his salary, his student loans, and whether his parents owned their home. Emily sat across the table, silent. As the wedding preparations went on, strange things started to happen. The caterer canceled our reservation, claiming someone had called to cancel. When I rebooked, my mother later asked me about the caterer's name, even though I had never told her. My mother also hosted my bridal shower. Halfway through, she told everyone a made-up story about me having an affair with a married professor in college. The room went silent. I excused myself and texted Ryan, "My mother is trying to ruin us." He came to pick me up. A few weeks later, at my final dress fitting, Emily accidentally spilled red wine on my wedding dress. The seamstress, Mrs. Kowalski, a Polish-American woman in her 60s, told me later that it was on purpose. I asked her to keep it a secret for now. As the wedding date approached, Ryan asked me to postpone the wedding. He said he didn't want me to go through with it if my mother was going to cause trouble. I told him, if we postpone or cancel, she wins. We have to show up. Then, on the day of the wedding, just as my mother was berating me in the bridal hallway, my grandmother arrived. She walked past my mother and made her way to the microphone. My grandmother unfolded a piece of paper and began to speak. "My name is Mildred Thompson. I'm 73 years old. My husband, Henry, set up a trust for Brittany before he passed away. Between 2017 and 2027, my daughter-in-law, Linda, made 18 distributions from the trust. None of the receipts were signed by Brittany. All of them are forgeries. The total amount stolen from Brittany is $320,000. She also read an email from Linda to Emily, dated a few months ago. The email said, if Brittany marries Ryan, his family will look into her finances. We have to stop this wedding. I'll handle the vendors, and you deal with her reputation." As my grandmother finished speaking, a woman in a black suit walked into the chapel. It was Mrs. Harris, a forensic accountant. She presented a 280-page binder with detailed evidence of the forgeries and financial fraud. My stepfather, Tom, stood up and left the chapel without a word. Emily started to cry and apologized to me. She said she knew about the theft but was too afraid to say anything. At the back of the chapel, a man in a dark suit entered. It was my father. My grandmother said, "Brittany, that's your father." He knew something was wrong but couldn't prove it until now. I walked down the aisle, past my mother, who sat there in shock. I reached the front and said, "I came here to marry Ryan. I won't let my mother's actions ruin this day." The ceremony went on, and Ryan and I were married. After the wedding, my father gave me a box of letters he had written to me over the years. I opened one that was written on my 10th birthday. He wrote, "Brittany, I love you. I drive by your school every day, but I'm not allowed to see you. I hope one day we can be together again." In the following days, with my grandmother's support, we filed a civil lawsuit against my mother and sister. The South Carolina Law Enforcement Division launched a criminal investigation. My mother faced multiple counts of forgery and breach of fiduciary duty. Her real estate license was suspended, and Tom filed for divorce. Emily was put on administrative leave from medical school pending an ethics review. My grandmother moved into an in-law suite at our house. My father and I started to rebuild our relationship. And every time I look at my wedding dress, with the faint pink stain from the spilled wine, I'm reminded of how far I've come and the strength I've found in myself. The loudest accuser in a family is often the one hiding the worst secrets. And those who love you silently from a distance may be the ones who love you the most. If you've ever had a similar experience, I'd love to hear your story in the comments.